have been playing ampe and we play football too.
Are you enjoying yourself?
Yes.
You wish every day were today, right?
Yes, sir.
You don't want your teachers back?
We want our teachers back.
A passionate plea from a JHS2 student at Kanda MA Primary School in Accra. His cry mirrors the sentiments of thousands of school children stranded across the country today as more teachers join the strike by the three unions, NAT, NAGRAT and CCT. Now, the teachers are unhappy about the appointment of Dr. Eric Nkansai as the Director General of the Ghana Education Service, who they say is alien to education system. Their strike is to force government to withdraw the appointment, but on the ground, thousands of school children are bearing the brunt, with some unsure what to do to cope. We have our reporters monitoring the situation across the country. One of them is my colleague, Richard Kojanyako, who's been on the beat in Accra.
So this is the Kanda AMA Basic School. It's actually a cluster of schools. We also have the Ring Road East Junior High School. And it's obvious that the teachers are not in class. The kids have a field day. Others are playing. They are doing their own thing. They are not in the classroom. They are loitering around. You see a couple of teachers, but they are not teaching. The schools are opened all right, but the kids are simply not engaged in any academic activity. So you see some of the kids playing football. Others are engaging in all manner of things. What's your name?
Yaira.
Which class are you?
Class 3.
Class 3.
Yes.
So where are your teachers?
They are on strike.
They are on strike?
Yes.
What did they tell you yesterday? Were you in school?
Yes.
What did you learn yesterday?
I learned about how to read English language.
Your teachers came to school yesterday?
No.
So you learned it. You learned it on your own.
Yes.
But today, what have you been doing?
Me and my friends got four, and then they are teaching us.
Hello, how are you?
I'm fine.
Where are your teachers?
Sir, please, I don't know.
Did they come to school today?
No, sir.
Yesterday too?
No, sir.
So what have you been doing the entire day?
Sir, please, we was in the class and they come and lost the door.
You were in the class and they came to lock the doors?
Yes. It was break and we go out for break.
Okay. So is it lunch time or breakfast?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So you're enjoying your meal?
Yes.
Okay. That's fine. So let me try speaking with more of the school people. Come. Don't run away from me. What's your name?
My name is Sandra.
Sandra. Where are your teachers?
They are not there.
They are not there. What have you been told? Where are they?
They have gone to strike.
They are going to strike?
Yes.
They've gone on strike, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Sir.
So what have you been doing ever since you came to school today? Tell me.
We have been playing ampe and we play football too.
Are you enjoying yourself?
Yes.
You wish every day were today, right?
Yes, sir.
You don't want your teachers back?
We want our teachers back.
Okay. All right. So what are you telling your teachers and government?
I'm telling them that they should come to school and come and show us things so that we learn.
Okay. So this is one of the school pupils here telling me a lot about what they have been through. So tell me, what's your name?
My name is Mozambique Osman.
Okay. So what have you been doing today?
We have not been learning, but we wish our teachers were in school today to teach us, because we will lose a lot before our teachers will come back. And because I don't see if the president we are pleading the president to bring us to do what our teachers need, because some of the parliamentarians, their students are not attending government school. We are the ones attending the government, and it will affect us. It will not affect them. So their future is further than us. We are now coming into the future. So they should help us, and we are pleading them to make our teachers wish for them. That is what we are pleading the government to fulfill. But we heard that they are going for a meeting today, and we know that they will bring a positive answer for us.
Hey, how did you know all of that they were going for a meeting today? You listen to the news a lot?
Yes, I listened to the news, because yesterday I heard the news, and we are all sad yesterday, because we knew that yesterday will be a better day for us. We came to school, we did not learn anything. None of the teachers were in the school. Most of us were misbehaving on the compound. That's not good for us, and we need to improve our life. So we are pleading in the government to bring us back our teachers.
Earlier, our Northern Region correspondent Martina Bugu reported that schools in Tamale have shut down following the strike. She spoke on JoyNews desk.
Through the metropolis, most of the schools are locked. The public schools are actually not working. And so you go through school after school and it's locked. You might find the security man rooming. It looks like they are adhering to the strike action 100% in the Tamale metropolis. So far, the places that I have visited. I spoke to one of the head teachers who would not like to be known, and he says that it's better government listens to their concerns and then they do what they want. And then they can resolve these things within a day or two so that the students can go back to school. They think that it's not in the interest of the school children. And once they agree with their leadership, the staff expertise in the field of education should be the one heading them and not somebody from the finance sector, he says.
So what are the pupils doing? What did you see them do mainly?
Most of them did not come to school today. Most of them, those who came, just came through and then they are heading back home because no one is in the school. The schools are locked up. So you come and then there's no place to sit. So literally they are either returning home or they didn't come at all.
Have we had parents and their reaction to this particular development?
Parents think that, yes, it's not a good thing. The strike is not a good thing, but they also think that the teachers have a case and government should listen to them so that they can have their children go back to school.
Let's go to the Ashanti region because teachers there boycott class after government and 3 teacher unions crunch meeting ends inconclusively. A day after failing to stay out of classrooms, teachers in public basic schools in the Ashanti region have joined the nationwide industrial action. Students' attendance at the schools have been affected, with some primary schools recording less than half of its student population. Authorities at some schools say they will be engaging the pupils who reported to school in class exercises so they do not while away time. Joining me on the phone is Emmanuel Bright Kweku to give me the reality on the ground. Bright, please tell me what is happening.
All right, Map. So I've been to a number of schools here in the Ashanti region, and particularly at a government school. Out of the 1,275 student population, I can confirm that only 250 of this particular population size came to school. And as you rightly mentioned, the teachers over there say they are going to engage these students in class exercises and spelling bee so that they do not waste their time in school or even engage in any violent activity. Meanwhile, in some of the senior high schools I visited, they are divided on this particular industrial action. So in some particular schools, you will see some teachers on campus teaching their students, and while in other schools, you find the teachers, just the administration staff, the headmaster and some of the officials at the administration, and even some heads of the department, that is maybe a chemistry head, a physics head, teaching these students, actually engaging the students, making sure that these students go to class and have their own personal studies, not necessarily going into class to teach the students. So they are just helping the students to have their own personal classes whilst this industrial action is on. Some of the students are particularly worried. They are hoping that the strike will be called off and then academic activity for the year can continue smoothly. So this is the situation here in the Ashanti region.
All right, thank you very much. That is Lava FM reporter Emmanuel Bright Kweku. Give me an update of that industrial action happening in, or what's happening in the Ashanti region. Well, away from that, this afternoon, Finance Minister Keno Foriata's job is not the only one on the line. The minority in Parliament is turning the heat on Bank of Ghana Governor Dr. Ernest Edison, who they say should resign or be sacked. According to Deputy Ranking Member on the Finance Committee, Isaac Odongo, Dr. Edison has been incompetent in his handling of the cedi's depreciation and inflation.
How can Dr. Addison still be the governor of the central bank? I call on Dr. Addison as a matter of urgency to exit that office and give Ghana the chance to clear the mess that he has created. Part of the problem of the exchange rate emanating from this 70 billion is unto that even the central bank itself is competing with the economy for dollars. Dr. Addison, since he assumed office, has borrowed in excess of $7 billion on the balance sheet of the Bank of Ghana and thrown those dollars at the city. Today, Dr. Addison is in trouble to find the dollars to go and pay back those loans. Some he called them bridge finance, some he called them swaps, some he called them repurchase agreement. Today, Dr. Addison is in the market looking for dollars to pay up for his own mess. That is the problem. And Dr. Addison must be sacked. Otherwise, he must have the conscience to resign as the governor of the central bank. Part of the mess that he has created in an attempt to recall those 70 billion back to the banking sector and back to the Bank of Ghana, he has had to consistently increase the policy rate. That's the only way he can recall the money. He must attract those monies back from people's homes. And so every now and then, Dr. Addison increases the policy rate just so the 70 billion can come back home. To the extent that now the government borrows on 91 days at 34%. If you're a blue chip company like Unilever, you need to pay a premium to access a loan from the bank. That will not be less than 40 billion. If you're a Koku Menu enterprise, then you should be looking at 50% to be able to borrow from the bank. Again, Dr. Addison is a key architect that is collapsing our businesses and squeezing credit to the private sector. To the extent that you now need to have a miraculous business that can give you 150% profit, so you can pay the 50% the banks are demanding and still pay your expenses and have something left. I don't know the type of legal business in Ghana that can give you that. Even the other illegal businesses, they are shrouded in secrecy, so we can't even tell the margins. But Dr. Addison is the cause of this. So Dr. Addison must go. If Dr. Addison does not go, I assure you, the effort to sack who and to remove who would come to naught.
Away from that, laborers and merchants of building materials are lamenting hikes in prices of cement, nail and other building materials. Within this year, the increments in cement prices most especially have slowed some construction projects and adversely affected value chain actors. Nana Boache Danko Yadom put a spotlight on the issue.
The high increase in building materials, particularly cement, is affecting labor costs. Today in the Ashanti region, contractors and some owners of cement factories share their plight with us.
The price per 50-kilogram bag of cement currently sells at 95 Ghana cedis from about 50 Ghana cedis at the beginning of the year. Elvis Osei Safo is the CEO of July 08 Cement Company in Kumasi. He says increases in building materials is a combination of factors, including sharp depreciation of the cedi and the cost of fuel.
We are bearing the brands, the customers too are facing it. I worry a lot about myself, as well as my customers and my workers. Now we have stopped thinking about profits. We are thinking about survival. We are thinking about how to float. We know this may pass, this too shall pass, but we don't know when. Because let's say your salary was 5,000 in a month, even back in January. 5,000 in a month, you could buy maybe 100 bags per month. Now 5,000, you will buy, what's the price now? 100 cedis. So you're buying 50 bags.
Laborers working on a construction site in the Echimakwa district expressed displeasure on how the hike in cement prices is affecting them. Eric Boateng, also a construction laborer for several years, says coming by a job is a challenge.
These days, we don't get work because contractors use their money for cement and other materials which are expensive.
kofa cement no adura ba sana ya 11 bi okonna adechia untimi nkobi.
If you don't accept the little they give you, the job can be taken away from you.
Ya kakra benya no ya so dia koto bayire bia begu woni agubi. Ne se ne ya ne ya mane se edini kakra akra.
Mario Wusu, who is putting up a building, is displeased some landlords have increased rent, citing rising cost of cement as a factor. She wants the government to intervene.
Cement, na ya 30 cedi.
Cement used to be sold at 30 cedis, but it has now jumped to 92 cedis. Government must do something about it. We are unable to rent houses.
Reporting for Joy News, Nana Bwachedankwe-Yadom, Abebu.
The Catholic Bishops' Conference has taken a swipe at the government for failing to engage in broader consultation fixing the economic situation in the country. The bishops say until government realizes the need to draw the expertise of others in its economic and social decisions, the country may head towards disasters. President of the conference, Most Reverend Philip Name, made this disclosure at the annual plenary assembly of the Bishops' Conference in the Eastern region.
As a matter of necessity, engage the civil society organizations to improve the economic and social situation of the country. The CSOs, because of the nature of their work, have knowledgeable and competent persons on every sector of the economy who will be more than willing to offer their expertise in the service of the nation. Some of these CSOs can be part of negotiations or the signing of economic agreements between the government and other agencies. For instance, the government could involve some of them in the IMF negotiations or programs. Also, other political parties could be consulted on the national policies, even if they are in opposition. Development should be a common matter for all of us, whether we are priests, religious, politicians, or ordinary lay faithful. In other words, the expectation of this team is that if you are a politician, in spite of the great temptations that you will meet in the day-to-day execution of your work, we do not expect you to steal because you know Christ. We do not expect you to divert property which belongs to the common good for a selected few friends and family members. This is what the synodal process is calling on all of us to do.
We all know that the country is currently going through economic crisis, largely occasioned by external factors. However, the President of the Republic, Nana Akufo-Addo, in his address to the nation on Sunday, 30th October 2022, outlined some pragmatic measures being implemented by the government to ameliorate the suffering Ghanaians are going through. I wish to assure you that government remains committed to exploring all workable avenues and solutions in dealing with the current economic difficulty.
CEO of defunct Beige Bank, Michael Ninaku, has pleaded not guilty to multiple charges of stealing and money laundering filed against him by the Attorney General. A total of 43 charges have been filed, with other offences, including fraudulent breach of trust, attached as well. Deputy Attorney General Alfred Tuayeboa told an Accra High Court the alleged crimes were discovered following investigations to the bank after its license was revoked and placed under receivership by the Bank of Ghana. Mr. Ninaku denies the allegations and has been granted bail. Court correspondent Joseph Akable joins us with more. Now, Joseph, the AG's office, we understand, shed some light on what investigations uncovered regarding movement of depositors' funds around.
So, Maps, the allegation is that Mr. Nyinaku moved depositors' funds totaling 1.2 billion cedis from their accounts without their consent or they being aware of such a transaction into the accounts of personal companies that he either owned wholly or was a majority shareholder of. We are told that as at the time that the bank went into receivership, those monies, which the total is 1.2 billion cedis, had not been returned into the depositors' accounts. And so the AG explains that if not for the banking sector cleanup and the bailout that was carried out by the state, it would have meant that all the depositors who held various accounts in the Page Bank would not have been able to access their funds should they have gone over to the bank to attempt to withdraw any amount of money.
But Mr. Nyinaku denies these allegations?
In fact, his lawyers led by Adotua denies the allegations. He described the transactions as regular banking transactions, which he says was clearly documented, and it's for that reason that the Attorney General's office has access to those transactions. And he says in due course, they will be demonstrating to the court that the allegations leveled against him are untrue.
Joseph, tell us about the bail conditions.
He's been granted bail in the sum of 200 million cedis with 3 sureties, 2 to be justified. This means that 2 of the 3 persons who will be signing court documents to indicate that they should be held responsible should Mr. Nyinaku fail to show up in court. They will have to show that they own landed properties worth 200 million cedis before Mr. Nyinaku will be allowed to go home.
All right, Joseph Akable has been speaking to the AG's office. Let's take a listen.
We are satisfied with the conditions set by the courts. I think it is fair to us. It's also fair to the accused person.
I mean, why did it take so long to bring this particular matter? I mean, more than 2 years. It went to the circuit court, then it was withdrawn. But what was going on behind the scenes?
Yes, you need to see in case like this, you need to have time to do a thorough investigation. We are talking about figures. It's not something that you can compute. You need to have the experts to go through the books. So we decided to let some space so that we can do everything. So when we come to court, we don't have problems to how we arrive at figure A or figure B. So it's about a thorough investigation. And
in terms of concluding on your facts, you did indicate that as of now, those monies have not been returned. So it means that the depositors' funds that the state paid back for us, you still don't, you're not able to trace those monies.
Exactly, that's the point. The depositors needed to be paid. The government had to pay. We are now in court to prosecute and, if possible, recover. You know, if you paid an amount of 1.2 billion from the taxpayers' money, you need that money back. You can get it back only when you take a legal action as done today. So this is and I can assure you that there are other cases that also very soon hit the courts and a lot of investigations to recover those monies.
I mean, if you say other cases, are we looking in relation to the other collapsed
exactly. Banks, microfinance, savings and loans.
All those are matters that you are seeking to go after the individuals who played one role or the other that resulted in the collapse.
Let me sound this warning to those who were involved in savings and loans, microfinance and other banking institutions. If you were involved and the state had to cough money to pay your deposits, you'll be called upon to answer certain charges.
And the state is ready for this particular matter with your evidence and everything?
We are very much.
Deputy Attorney General Alfred Toyeboah there. Let's do some other stories where some commercial long-distance drivers say they're now using either improvised or old spare parts to fix their broken vehicles. The situation exposes road users to risks as it could lead to possible breakdowns or crashes. But the drivers say they can no longer afford spare parts or service their vehicles due to the rising cost of goods in the country. They've been speaking to JoyNews' Samuel Mbura.
Break, crotch. Break, crotch, break, crotch. Omu to me here. Spare parts oko na ya boaganta na wako press it.
I can no longer buy spare parts, so I improvise. The car price I used to buy for 500 cedis is now 700 cedis. I can't afford it.
Tie rod won't mean talk. Tie first me to tie home use 5 million, 5 million, and then 7 million. Brand new 1,000 one tie.
But maintenance no na say a problem. Because say a car no full style cry to cry and back 2.5.
Maintenance is now a challenge because of the increasing cost of spare parts. Everything has increased and my sales can't maintain my car. It is now expensive to buy even car tires.
Number car class here or takradia. Scare comments, I mean, to me, Papa seniors in free takrade and quotaqua. Because from takradi to tapa, from 35 was 36. Now, 3 million, ni pattern of players. You see a maintenance when you cry. Oh, but as a do maybe I won't mean yet. Just all compatible and I have a fans on our quadruple. This is system ni more.
To me, I'm a Casa CCA. Me village, me kodo.
Driving is no longer attractive. I don't have money to even maintain my car. I don't have the money to buy new spare parts. I manage with the old parts. If my car doesn't develop a fault, I don't go for maintenance. It is now very expensive.
You're still watching Joy News today. There's more news after this break. And it's time to do business here on Joy News today with me, Beverly Broom. Some panel members on the pre-budget forum organized by Joy Business have called for a massive reduction in the electronic transaction levy to encourage Ghanaians to embrace the tax. The tax, which was introduced in the 2022 budget, has performed poorly, ranking in just about 10% of the expected revenue 3 months after its implementation. Let's hear from the director of the Institute of Statistical, Social and Economic Research, Professor Peter Quote, and the president of the Association of Ghana Industries, Humphrey Eyim Dake, who called for a reduction of the rate on the electronic levy.
Now, on innovations of revenue, mobilization, government over the 4 years period really trumpeted digitization as one of the routes of expanding the tax net. We need to find out from government, with all this investment in the digitization and all the innovations there, how do we leverage on it now? If that has become one route, we believe, if government deploys technology, which is an innovation format, you could double the VAT, because there's a lot of leakages in the VAT. Even though the structure is not perfect, we have tabled in our budgetary submission that let that VAT be relooked at and then deploy technology. That is clear innovation. E-levy, we know, had its own difficulties, and for us, we believe, why don't you reduce the e-levy and possibly expand the scope that was adjusted? That becomes another form of innovation that you could do.
E-levy can be made better, can be made more efficient. Let's reduce the rate to 0.5, and I am sure we can raise a lot of revenue. It's quite shocking that we have a product that has substitutes. E-levy, we can liken it to, let's say, Fanta or Coke. I can decide to buy Mirinda or any other soft drink. So why do you price it so high when there are substitutes? When I can walk to the bank and withdraw money, where I can use a checkbook, where I can use other means, I can pay cash. So I think the whole design of the e-levy is a good concept of raising money, given the times we find ourselves. But I think it's ill-advised. The rate is too punitive, that we will not rake in the needed revenue.
Now, still on the forum, the Chief Executive Officer of the Ghana National Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Mark Bedua-Boaje, has described Ghana's 2022 budget as the worst in the last 30 years. According to him, the budget failed to address the challenges facing various sectors of the Ghanaian economy. Speaking on the Joy Business 2023 pre-budget forum, he maintained that the current rate of inflation may surge.
It's been negative. I think that probably is the worst budget performance for the past 30 years. Why am I saying so? Let's compare the budgeted figures to the actual figures as at September, because that is where the figures are available. If you look at all the macroeconomic indicators, it's obvious that you are not going to achieve even one of the targets, even the revised ones. For inflation, for instance, we targeted 8 plus or minus 2.
Under 10%.
Under 10%. And the revised one was 28.5. As at now, it's 37.2. And the likelihood that it will go up again is there, looking at the pass-through effect of all the things that are happening in terms of increases in fuel prices and also lorry fares and other things. So obviously, we are not going to achieve that. If you look at the policy rate also, for instance, it was 14.5% at the beginning of the year. At the moment, it's 24.5%. And what that means is that interest rate will definitely go up. And we've seen the reference rate at the last October figure at 30.52. And that is just the basic or the basis for which they set interest rate. So interest rate for now is around 35 to 40%.
And that's all for business. Now we have more business on Marketplace at 1 p.m. Do stay with us.
Good afternoon. Time now to do sports on JoyNews today with me, Muftar Nabila Abdullahi. The atmosphere surrounding the FIFA World Cup is gradually dawning on everyone as countries that have qualified to participate in the Mundial are naming their final squads. Reports emerging this morning had suggested that the technical team of the Black Stars are also putting together their final squad after earlier releasing a 55-man squad. Joining me in studio is my colleague, Gary Al-Smith, to give us some insight as to what has been happening. Gary, I've heard some interesting names, like Mubarak Wakaso, like Samuel Owusu, like Majida Shimeru. What have you heard so far?
Well, basically the same. As you know, most people are following on social media and everywhere that other countries are releasing their squads, and so there's a bit of anticipation about where's ours. Yes. And we understand that the GFA, latest by Thursday, will be releasing the final 26. So the question has been that why is Ghana, for example, when you look at other countries that are going straight to the 26, why did we feel it was prudent last week to release 55? A 55? I can't answer that, but I'm told by a few officials that, you know, they needed to let the Ghanaian populace understand where, or the process where they are coming from, so that when the 26-man team comes and a certain player who everyone knows
was supposed
is
to
good,
be there,
is good, does not make the 26, you know that at least he was under consideration. You know, so that's the explanation that I was given. Regarding the 26 themselves, in the last 2 days, we understand that there have been some developments. One, that there seem to be injuries. And the doctor in this Black Stars team, Dr. Prince Pambo, is known to be a stickler for rules and regulations. That is to say that if you have an injury and he sees that you have an injury, he is not going to help you hide it.
He will not take a risk.
We know that in Ghana, it is normal to say, oh, this player is a bit injured here. Dr. Prince Pambo doesn't do that. Based on that, we understand that somebody like Kamaldeen Sulemana is very likely not to make the squad. Because he got injured last week, Wednesday. And as much as his camp are pushing, put him in there.
And something interesting happened this morning when I woke up to see a message from someone who was suggesting the squad. One of them actually reached out to me and said that he also have issues with Rene because they're saying that he doesn't want to play competitively for them because he wants to the World Cup, and even the coach of Rene is angry at him.
So, you know, I just returned from Europe on the tour. We were supposed to interview Kamaldeen Sulemana 2 Fridays ago, and then they postponed it, and they didn't give us any reason why. The following Monday, which is this Monday's week, we got a call from Kamaldeen's people that he's ready and that we should come to Rennes for the interview. But by then we had gone to Belgium. So Rennes is on the south of France, and we couldn't go there. Then 2 days later, they went for training, and the following day, mysteriously, we heard that he had been injured. So that's just one. We're supposed to interview Kofi Tre as well. You know, he got a knock. We didn't hear from his people. What we heard in the last 2 days is that his injury is a bit more serious than anticipated.
Than we thought.
And so they don't want people around them to find out that sort of thing. I'm hearing that Kofi Tre, I know he's a favorite for a lot of Ghanaian football fans, because of the injury, will not be risked going to the tournament. And that some members of the technical team are adamant that if you are not fit to go, you are not going on that play. So these are 2 names.
Do you have local names?
Not yet, but I know that, for example, Kamal Soa is likely to get in. Because Stefan Ambrosius is not there. So Kamal Soa will make in. The interesting story is that Kamal Soa didn't even think he will make the squad, even though he's playing regularly because he feels they didn't like him. He had actually booked a ticket.
Like him story.
He had actually booked a ticket to go to Miami for holidays.
Oh, wow.
Because he didn't think he would make the squad, even though he's playing well. And then he was told that he's made the squad. So what we are told finally is that we are going to get a team full of fit players. And I mean, for the benefit of Ghanaian fans, we hope that that is true. As for the local players,
Daniel Ibrahim Danlad. Well, was that about two Fridays ago where, remember last week during our usual editorial meetings, I had mentioned that they were going to release a provisional squad and all that. And that was where I got the information that they were trying to get some local players but it appears Otuado is not budging.
Nah, Otto says that no local, no Black Stars.
But 26 players, we can still get some of them to go and warm on the pitch, isn't it?
Well, you have given Otuado the job to do, so let's leave him to do the job, and that's what we know so far.
Otuado, let's leave him to do the job. And this is how we wrap up sports here with me, Muftau Nabilabla. You can go to my joyonline.com and read some more stories. And at 2 p.m., my colleague Nathaniel Ato will be here with sports today.
President Akufo-Addo asks rich countries to allow heavily indebted poor African countries like Ghana to swap their debt with climate interventions. He announced the launch of climate initiatives that will create jobs in Ghana at the UN Climate Summit in Egypt. President Akufo-Addo is asking rich countries to allow heavily indebted poor African countries to swap their debt with climate interventions. He's been addressing the world at this year's United Nations Climate Change Conference, COP27, in Egypt. Ghana is currently facing crippling economic crisis fueled by huge debt. Ghana's debt situation is proving to be a major stumbling block to getting an IMF deal in time. President Akufo-Addo says the global financial sector that has left countries like Ghana with no little help is no longer fit for purpose. Residents of Sewa in the Ashanti region have been handed a mechanized borehole facility to address an acute water challenge to their community. The water project, under the benevolence of Universal Hospitals Group, is to help solve the water needs of the community, which hitherto depended on a stream. My colleague, Ohiminteria, has more.
Hospitals Group was contracted by the Ministry of Health to construct the Infectious Disease Center in the Sewia community. The yet-to-be commissioned facility is one of the several infectious treatment centers constructed as part of the government's COVID-19 management plan. Sewia, until now, relied on water from the Nkamfro and other streams, as well as hand-dug wells. But thanks to the Universal Hospitals Group, the community can now have a reliable water source. Nana Safo Champon is a Sewia Jasehene. He says the project will serve nearby school children.
Hospital kraso ayesesi ahoho nyina esa bebaha enti so mo bebaha no ensuo ho ba be yede ne nyakopa daro mo mudi we ama ye de na gese ne gya ne ahye enti emfaso de
This is one of several gifts from the company. Chief Executive Frederick Amisa tells Joy News funding for the project came from the company's profit following the construction of the infectious center.
Universal Hospitals Group constructed a containment center as part of the regional hospital project. And as a socially responsive company, we decided to put this project here. So what township we saw needed some support when it comes to the water delivery system. So out of our good faith, we decided to plant a water system that can serve up to 250 households. And where we are standing is strategically located in the school to help the school kids also get good water during classes hours. So UAG, it's our strategy that wherever we find ourselves, we leave footprints, not only technical and project footprints, but social footprints everywhere we go.
From Sewia in the Ashanti region for Joy News, Ohimintiwia reporting.
And that's how we end Joy News today. For more news, you can log on to myjoyonline.com. Our top story: defunct Beige Bank CEO Michael Nyaku pleads not guilty to stealing 1.2 billion Ghana cedis, and he's been granted 200 million Ghana cedi bail. More stories when you log on to myjoyonline.com. I am Mapitso Sebidi. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon.